The Last of Fenson House by Dead Palette.
Early January 2013, security guard Jody Fenson put in her 2-week notice at the Bellevue Mall in Battle Creek, Michigan. She gave no reason when asked as to why. No new job, no workplace issues, no life-changing events. The 37-year-old had no reason to quit. By all accounts, she was pleasant to work with, if not dull to talk to. No hobbies or interest. She didn't engage with anyone else, at least not at work. Completely detached. She did her job dutifully for the 14 years she was there, since the mall opened. So why just quit, and why then? Secretly, Miss Fenson did have a life-changing event. Her last living relative died a few days before, her father Frederick Fenson III. Miss Fenson had inherited a rundown, small, 2-story house in the middle of nowhere. Post-funeral and will reading, Fenson moved roughly an hour away to the rural area of Michigan where this old Fenson house was. This area was known for being a Baptist hot spot, a real everyone knows everyone type of place from what I gather. Also, a place with no new jobs. All businesses were local. No new positions would just open up. You can't just go there and get a job at Wendy's or Walmart. There aren't any. You gotta know someone at the local grocery store that doesn't even have a name. It's just the grocery store. Or you gotta know someone at one of the farms. One of Miss Fenson's former co-workers was concerned at her departure, perhaps out of a sense of curiosity, but my hunch tells me it was a workplace crush. Anyway, this gent that'll remain anonymous, semi-anonymous, contacted the police to file a missing persons report, which he had zero standing to do in this case. So, desperate, he hired a private investigator to find her. That's where I officially enter the story. I quickly discovered the passing of Fenson's father, the Fenson house address, and scant background info on this small rural town. Still, my employer wasn't just going to let the grieving grieve. It was the absolute dead of winter as I approached a house that seemed abandoned and cold, perched on a hill looking like a snow globe for sale as a novelty during the Halloween season rather than Christmas. The hill it sat on seemed unnatural, rising above a line of naked and dying trees on all sides. While remote to get to, on roads that'd be treacherous all year round, it wasn't hard to spot, almost like a lighthouse for cars whose lantern burned out long ago. Despite the density of trees near the hill, none stood on the hill as it began to ascend, like Thomas Kincaid had a Tim Burton phase. I knocked on the door of what I assumed was an uninhabited dead end to this investigation. Fortunately for me, I didn't need to find a new lead, as Jody Fenson answered the door. Or what would almost pass as a frigid, long-deceased ghost of the Bellevue Mall photo ID I saw a day prior. Odd thing was how much her expression matched the ID. Despondent, looking directly at my being, but not looking past me, through me, and into the overcast noon sky. She didn't introduce herself, so I took the liberty of explaining who I was and that I was there on behalf of her former employer, just checking in. This was like 85% a lie, but a lie is just another word for diplomacy sometimes. In a creaky voice that must not have uttered a noise for a few days, she said she didn't need to be checked in on and that everything was okay. When I suggested I ask her a few questions inside, she responded with no and a slight nod to the same. Her response was so mechanical, with bags under her eyes, the sadness therein and the blueness of her pale skin. You'd think she was a ghost. But her responses weren't as ambiguous as ghosts are rumored to be. It was clear from the start that I was bothering this woman for a paycheck, something I really didn't mind, but I wasn't going to get blood from a stone or info from the tight-lipped. So I had a simple suggestion. So I said, "I don't want to bother you any further. I just get the feeling that someone else might come asking questions. Can you give me some reason as to why you left so they don't send another person? I'm trying to save your privacy." She cast her gaze to the side, perhaps thinking of a lie that'd work for both of us. "Can I just tell them that you're grieving? That you've moved on and want to get away from city life?" Then, resuming eye contact, she point-blank told me I'm not grieving. Well, shucks, it really seemed like she was. From what I could see inside and hear from the outside, there wasn't any kind of air conditioning inside. I promptly asked her if she was cold. I was then told to leave. In the less than 1 minute that I was at her door, I had overstayed my welcome. That's a record for me. Normally people need to be around me for at least an hour before I get on their nerves. Maybe she sensed duplicity on my part, or maybe she didn't trust me. Still, I wanted some kind of info bite, just a bit to think to myself that I didn't lose this one. I asked, "Hey, you know who sent me, right?" She nodded a brief nod in the affirmative. I told her, "He doesn't want you to feel unsafe, so please be careful out there." She shut the door in my face, slowly but firmly. She didn't mean anything disrespectful by it. After all, I was the one pestering her. I went back to my car knowing that I had lost this one. The next day, I catch wind of a giant grave robbery that happened on the outskirts of the town. Instantly, I connected to Fenson. She literally had nothing she could be doing in that house. I'm 99% sure had no power or heating. This was immediately confirmed to me when a police contact I had found the names of the bodies attached. 15 bodies. Yeah, 15 bodies robbed. She had been using an industrial digger to lift bodies of the Fenson bloodline out of the family graveyard. I told my contact about the previous day and directed her to the old Fenson house. It was on fire. Eventually, the basement was found to contain burnt corpses, including the freshly deceased Jody and Frederick Fenson. They never did put out the fire. Nothing, not even grass, grew on that hill. Sometimes, response time is slower in these rural parts of America. Sometimes this just is allowed to happen. I ponder if I was too apathetic. Maybe just too concerned with not losing. But in wake of this, I came to find out that the Fensons had been kicked out of the Baptist church, the only church in town, because of their outsider beliefs. What those beliefs were, it's hard to know. Something to do with blood and revelations, at least according to a cop friend who is a friend of the church. They were exiled to that house on the hill. And I guess this worked for everyone involved. Truth is, I'll never know for sure what happened to the Fensons. They took their story to their fiery grave. This case was a loss for me, and I just wanted someone else to share this loss. Oh, and by the way, that coworker moved on real easy when I told her she got married to a Baptist farmer. He got more closure than I did.
The Last of Fenson House was written by Dead Palette, narration by Dead Palette, editing, mastering, and original music by Abysme. Comprehensive links below. YouTube.com/Creepypasta is a collaborative channel. Please subscribe if you want to follow our content. If you want to support the channel, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing this video with like-minded members of the community.